Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer with you today. All right, guys. So what I'd like to share with you today is a branch of astrology which is called Esoteric Astrology. So the astrology that I've been teaching so far with the videos that you guys have seen is called Exoteric Astrology. Which is very different to the approach I'm about to discuss now. I personally use both, but not only that, I use medieval astrology, I use branches of the evolutionary astrology model, so I combine a number of different levels of astrology when I'm looking at a birth chart for a client or for myself or family or whoever. Now, esoteric astrology is very complex and really takes quite a while to understand, to study, and to get a feel for it. I'm only going to bring to you guys an introduction today because you can do a 2-year course on this branch of astrology quite easily, if not longer. A 2-year course would be an introduction. So yeah, it's a vast field of body of knowledge and wisdom and insight. So I'm just going to cover some basics for you and give you some directions to explore this and learn this further if it is an area that does interest you. Now, this would interest people who are, for lack of a better word, more spiritually inclined, who are, at a stage in their life where they are really in touch with their soul's energy, soul's purpose, and soul life. Now, the core fundamental structure of esoteric astrology pertains to the personality and the soul and the alignment of those two. It is very typical that for the first 40 years of our life or so, this is not the case for every single human being. There are exceptions, of course, but generally and typically what we see is human beings living their life from that external level, which is the personality, for the first 40 years of life or thereabouts. And usually what takes place, which is something that I've noticed through the years frequently, and this is quite often when people come for readings as well, when they are having a Uranus opposite Uranus transit, which happens pretty much for everybody at the age of around about 42, that seems to awaken something within your own path, your own individuation path and your path of evolution, which causes the soul to then start to seek a greater truth and understanding of who they actually are. It's like the personality gets to a point where it's developed so much on that external level in terms of what everything that personality represents, which is our ego, our core sort of self-structure, if you like, our personality structure, who we are out there in the world, the roles that we take on, the identity that we have, the things that we achieve and strive for and have created and have experienced and have developed, all of which pertain to the external world. So at some point in life, many people do begin to seek an experience of life and of themselves from a much deeper level of feeling and understanding. And that's the soul, if you like, waking up, as it were, calling your attention, calling the personality's attention. The personality can only achieve so much on that external level. And if there's no integration of the soul then there's an incredibly big gap for the person in their life. And they will feel it, they will sense it. And some people choose to listen to that sense or feeling or calling, and some people don't. Some people just continue to push on those external levels with the personality and just keep driving their life in that way. And this is not a judgment, this is just a fact of what happens to people. So the personality has the primary desire and drive and focus, and it just seeks to continue to develop more and create more on that external level. So more money, bigger house, bigger career, you know, all that sort of stuff, which for some people that's a big part of their journey this lifetime. But for those that are more soul orientated or spiritually orientated and have a relationship with the inner dimension of life, then those people are not going to be satisfied or content with these external components of life, and they will reach a point where they will begin to seek a greater truth and a greater sense of understanding of who they actually are. And esoteric astrology really looks at the marriage of the personality and the soul and the unification of the two. As I said, for the first 40 years or thereabouts, most people have not unified the soul and the personality. The soul is operating on a very different stream, and personality on another stream altogether. So there's this separation as it appears, because nothing is separate in truth. But from the personality ego structure, external component of who we are, there's a sense of separation of the personality and the soul. And that is what creates internal conflict, if you like. So that's the basis of esoteric astrology. It's marriage of the personality and the soul. And through the teachings of esoteric astrology, we look at the signs and the planets from a different perspective. We look at the signs and the planets, you could say, from the right brain or the higher self. So in esoteric astrology, the 12 zodiac signs are used. All the planets are used, including Chiron. But we also have Vulcan, and the Earth is used as well. Now, the position of the Earth is always opposite your Sun in your birth chart. So if your Sun is at 10 degrees of Aries, then the Earth's position in your natal chart will be at 10 degrees of Libra, the exact opposite point. Now, the Earth has great symbolism and importance in esoteric astrology, as does Vulcan. Okay, so just a couple of things further. So I'll just read a couple of things to you. One of the most important structural and fundamental relationships in our lives is that between the personality and the soul, which is what I was just saying, and the linking field that joins them. This has been called either by the Sanskrit name, the Antakarana, or lately by a more popular definition, the Rainbow Bridge. These also come from the ancient wisdom teachings, which assist us in the pursuit of greater intuitive understanding of and contact with the life force. To reveal our own personal truth, we must prepare our personality to receive the presence of the soul. Only then may we say, what I seek to present through my life, I identify, experience, and take responsibility for as the truth for me, for who I am. This comes out of Alan Oken's work. Now, Alan Oken is an incredible astrologer. Anyway, he's written a book which is called Esoteric, Soul-Centered Astrology, actually, by Alan Oken. So that's the book that I would recommend if you wanted to expand your understanding and knowledge of esoteric astrology, which, as I said, is very complex and has many different layers and levels to it. Just a couple more things I'd like to read before I just unpack some core basics regarding the signs and the planets. The more we are attached to the personality, the more we are materially orientated. Pretty obvious. In and of the earth. In esoteric astrology, the earth is used in the natal chart, as I said. As the soul becomes an ever-increasing presence in our life, we begin to become more light-orientated. Our soul energy radiates through our body. It can be experienced as warmth and light for those that are sensitive enough to perceive it. It is not an intrusive energy, but it uplifts others when others are in our presence and we're emanating or responding from our soul as opposed to just our personality. It has a healing quality and essence to it. So because of that healing and that healing component to it, when others are in our presence and we are operating from that soul level, our soul radiates that healing energy and component, which naturally draws people closer to you, and people feel very comfortable, very warm and uplifted in your presence. That's the nature of the soul. Okay. So the inner soul purpose, which is why I'm here, and the nature of those external circumstances, that is the world of the personality, through which the purpose is to be externalized. So the sun and the person, well, the sun ruling the personality in the sense of sun rules Leo, which is the case in esoteric astrology as well. The sun acts as a vehicle, if you like, as a conduit for the soul's expression to come through as well. So that they need to be integrated and unified so that the energy of the soul can be coming through. There needs to be an alignment with one's personality and one's soul. And when that is actualized, and that is how a person is living, you could say that they're living a more authentic life from the perspective of their soul's calling, their soul's desires, and their soul's evolutionary path. Now, the 7 rays, which is a huge component to esoteric astrology, there are 7 rays, and each ray has a very specific meaning to it and connects to very specific signs and very specific planets. And the planets include Vulcan and Earth. As I said, those 2 bodies are used in esoteric astrology. So the 7 rays are essentially, they're a frequency. Each one is a particular frequency or field of energy or field of consciousness that are operating or emerging through you, your life, merging through the personality and the soul, basically. And it is that unification of the soul and the personality that will be able to integrate those 7 rays, those 7 energy centers or fields of consciousness in a way that's authentic and truthful and real. The personality on its own does not have the capacity to integrate this level of frequency. It is the soul that brings all that through. But the personality acts as the point of actualization on that external level, and it brings it through. Now, all of us have a soul ray, a personality ray, an astral ray, a mental ray, and a physical ray. Now, the way you can figure out what your rays are is there is a particular website which I'll put the link below this video so that you can go to this website and check it out and calculate these rays for yourself. It's pretty straightforward and pretty self-explanatory and quite easy to follow, but you might need to sit with it a little bit. There is a little bit of calculation involved, such as adding certain hours onto the timetable that you will see on the website, or subtracting certain hours depending on where you were born on this planet. I personally mainly focus on the soul ray and the personality ray, even though there is an astral, mental, and physical ray. Not discounting those as being significant, they are. But the main work that I personally have really focused on and have found very, very useful is soul ray and personality ray. And my own soul ray and personality ray is just 100% accurate. I resonate with the meaning and the essence of that frequency beyond a shadow of a doubt. My soul ray is actually ray number 2, and my personality ray is ray number 1. Now, I will tell you what each ray means, but before I do that, just bear in mind that the zodiac signs have an exoteric rulership and an esoteric rulership. So the exoteric rulership is the system that you would be familiar with, such as the Sun rules Leo, Mars rules Aries, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, etc. Now, in esoteric astrology, there are some adjustments to that. Some signs remain the same in rulership, and some other signs have quite a different rulership, some of which when you first encounter this and hear it, you might think, how does that even make sense? This is where you need to study this particular branch of astrology to understand the teachings and why these planets are associated with the signs that they are. Now, Aries has its exoteric ruler is Mars, and its esoteric ruler is Mercury. So very different planets, right? Taurus, I actually won't bother mentioning the exoteric rulers, even though I have it written here, because I'm sure that most of you would know which sign correlates to which planet from the exoteric level. So I'll just continue with esoteric rulership. So Aries is ruled by Mercury. Taurus is ruled by Vulcan. Gemini is ruled by Venus. Cancer is ruled by Neptune. The Sun remains the same. Leo remains the same. It is ruled by the Sun. Virgo is ruled by the Moon. Now, this is a really interesting one, and I've seen this many times in many people's charts. When somebody has the Moon in Virgo, this is not something that you will pick up from Western exoteric astrology, because it's not discussed in that field of astrology. In esoteric astrology, when you see a person who has the Moon in Virgo, they're often incredibly, first of all, incredibly intuitive, without a doubt, but they can also have psychic potential, essentially. And I've seen this in quite a few people's charts through the years. The Moon has that capacity to access these intuitive fields which connect to the subconscious and the unconscious components. So when the moon is in Virgo, there is something quite powerful from the level of intuition and clairvoyant psychic abilities. Libra is ruled by Uranus. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Sagittarius is ruled by the Earth. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Aquarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Neptune is ruled by Pluto. Pisces is ruled by Pluto. So you can see from that there are some very different rulership associations, and to understand that you really do need to study esoteric astrology. Now this is an introduction, so I'm not going to unpack all these components, but I'm bringing this to you so that you can explore it yourself if you're interested, as I said from the beginning. The main thing that I really wanted to, I suppose, discuss today is just simply that whether you are looking at esoteric astrology or exoteric astrology, in my opinion, the relationship between the personality and the soul is so vital in our experience here on Earth. That the disconnection, or the apparent disconnection between the two, really does describe a lot of the difficulties that people experience in life in terms of feeling content and peaceful and connected and having a greater sort of connection to their higher purpose and feeling more aligned and centered and connected and so forth. Because, as I said, if the personality and soul are not unified, are not aligned, then we're operating from that external personality level, which is a constant, insatiable sort of way into life of just attaining more and more and more of the material world, which it doesn't matter how much you have, it'll never be that one arrives at a point from that material level where they are completely satisfied, because the material component to life just has this insatiable level to it, where it doesn't matter how much you have, you always want more. And you can think about this just in terms of your own life. If you've been making a lot of money, for instance, the more money we have, the more money we spend. So then the more we want, and it's just never ending. And it is temporary. All of it is temporary. It brings temporary moments of happiness, you could say. But in terms of deep, sustainable joy, then we need to be able to have a connection to the soul life, the inner dimensions, our spiritual life, because those components of our self, of our existence, they're not temporary. They come from a field and a stream which is infinite. The external world is not infinite. The material things that we have are not infinite. They expire in the same way that the body does. But the soul does not. It is infinite and eternal. So the qualities of the soul and the soul life pertain to that infinite stream of consciousness, which doesn't have an end and a beginning, as it were. So there's a richness and a vastness to it that is not limited by the conditions and the apparent separations of this physical 3D dimension. So this is what esoteric astrology can introduce you more to this way of understanding yourself and life. Now, as I said, there are 7 rays, and I will just tell you what each ray represents in terms of a key phrase, key word, or key couple of words. And I will just tell you the ruling planets associated with each ray, the signs, and also which chakra out of this system uses the 7 traditional chakras, as other branches of astrology pretty much stick to the 7. I take it a step further because of my own personal spiritual path, and the work that I do actually works with a chakra system that includes 12 chakras. There are actually more, but 12 are the ones that I actually work with. And in fact, I'll just tell you what they are, because they are very useful if you're interested in activating these higher centers, because each chakra is it's an energetic field or center that is either blocked or activated, or has some dust on it, so to speak, some debris. So when we go into meditation and we work with these energetic centers, and we focus on each center with light, for instance, you can choose many different colors of light. It's just a personal preference, really. But when you consciously go into this dimension within yourself and you're practicing meditation, and you consciously work on clearing and activating these energy centers, these chakras, you are activating energy centers that enrich and empower your life in a multitude of ways, actually. So the 12 chakras, now hopefully I can remember them off by heart. The first one is several meters above your head, and it's called the stellar gateway chakra. The one below that is your soul star chakra. Then we have the causal chakra. Then we have the crown chakra, third eye chakra, throat chakra, heart chakra. There is another smaller heart chakra just above the heart. You can use that as well, and that's got a beautiful pink light attached to it, because we know traditionally the heart center, the heart chakra in the 7 system of chakras, it's often represented by the color green, but there's a higher heart center just above the normal, your main heart. So you can include that as well. Solar plexus, sacral. Now, there's also a center, another energy center that sits between the sacral and the solar plexus. That's a very powerful energetic center as well. This is not included in the 12. This is a separate one that I'm just throwing in there for those of you who are interested. But if you want to know more about this, just check out Diana Cooper or Tim Wilde. They work with these 12 chakra energy systems, and so does Steve Nobel, for that matter. Then we have the root chakra, which is at the bottom of the spine, as we all know. And then there's also many chakras in your feet that you can activate and access and open and draw the Earth's core energy through as well. And then there's the final one is called the Earth Star Chakra, which is just below your feet. So you can work with all these chakras, whether you're working with esoteric astrology, exoteric astrology, or you don't have to be working with astrology to use these chakras. These are simply fields of energy, energetic points that, when activated, can clear certain streams in our life, and as I said, can really enrich our life in a number of different ways. There can be a lot of release and clarity and direction. and self-empowerment, courage, truth, wisdom, all those things can be really amplified when you actually clear your chakras through meditation. Now, going back to the 7 rays, the first ray is known as the ray of will, the ray of will / power. It's an incredibly powerful ray. It is ruled by Pluto and Vulcan, and the signs connected to it are Aries, Leo, and Capricorn. When you think of, if you have a first ray as your personality ray, which I do, for instance, as I said before, it's a Pluto energy. You know, very simply put, it's a Pluto energy. So if you had it as a personality ray or as a soul ray, well, let's start with personality ray. If you had it as a personality ray, then there's a big part of your personality and how you operate and who you are that basically is driven through the energy of Pluto. So Pluto becomes a very, very prominent force and planet in your birth chart from an esoteric perspective. In other words, you will be an agent of transformation, transforming your own life, transforming the lives of others. You will have very deep soul personality experiences that pertain to the death rebirth process. That'll be a very vital sort of theme in your life, if you like. It's a very, very intense, powerful ray, the first one. And that actually connects to the crown chakra in Esoteric Astrology. The second ray is ray of love and wisdom. Such a beautiful ray. I love this one. I have this one as my soul ray. So my soul is basically connected to love, wisdom. That's how my soul shines and speaks and radiates through me, the being that I am, the soul that I am. That's what comes through very, very strongly. It's ruled by Jupiter and the Sun, and it connects to the signs of Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces. So the 3 mutable signs, actually. Now, the second ray, you know, love, wisdom. If you have that as a soul ray, which I do, it just describes a person who really loves to share and give and include and encourage and inspire and teach, which is certainly the things that I'm doing with these videos. That's what sort of drives me and motivates me. Is from that soul level, I have this incredible love, if you like, for humanity and the wisdom that can come through and the sharing that can come through that. And it's, of course, it's connected to the heart chakra because it's love, right? It's the unconditional, infinite sense of love, that has no beginning and no end. The beautiful ray. All the rays are beautiful, just in very different ways. I wouldn't say the first ray is beautiful. You would say that it's extremely powerful and intense and transforming. So each ray is very different. Third ray connects to the throat chakra, and its a key phrase is it's the ray of active intelligence, and it's actually ruled by the Earth and Saturn, and the signs that it connects to are Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, so the 3 cardinal signs. Active intelligence is, you can think about that being like 9th house Jupiter type of energy, Uranus type of energy, right brain, essentially. The 4th ray is called harmony through conflict. It sounds really weird when you first hear that, harmony through conflict. it is ruled by Mercury and the moon, and it connects to the root chakra, so the chakra just at the bottom of the spine. And the zodiac signs are Taurus, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. Harmony through conflict is a tricky one because it essentially represents that, say for example, you had a personality, your personality ray was number 4, therefore your personality is going to operate through the experience of conflict and harmony. Your personality and how you express yourself out there and how you actualize your identity will have to undergo enormous conflict in order to actually reach a sense of harmony, just to put it very simply. It's a very interesting ray, that one. The 5th ray is the ray of concrete knowledge, and that connects to the 3rd eye chakra, and it's ruled by Venus, and the signs are Leo, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. Now, concrete knowledge is, actually, hold that thought, I'll just continue. The 6th ray, now this one is very fascinating to me. The 6th ray, its key phrase is devotion and idealism. It's connected to the solar plexus chakra, and it's ruled by Mars and Neptune, and it connects to Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Now, this is a very, very tricky ray, simply because its rulers are Mars and Neptune. Now, devotion, idealism. Obviously, at the most transcended level, the expression of that would be, you know, the guru, genuine, authentic guru type figure, someone who is utterly devoted to the divine source of all creation, to their own spiritual inner dimensions in life. It would be, you know, the Buddhist, practicing Buddhism, you know, practicing celibacy, any person who devotes their life. The thing to understand about it, though, because it's devotion / idealism and it's Mars Neptune, when this frequency, this ray, is operating at a low level, then it's the fanatical religious person who kills in the name of God. That's a very serious, extreme example, but it's out there. We all know that that kind of individual is out there. We've seen it over and over again. So when you see an individual who's operating from that sort of fanatical, devotional level towards the divine through violence, which is Mars. That's why Mars is there, because Mars always brings in violence. That's why this energy is very tricky, because Mars and Neptune have nothing in common. So think about, you know, Neptune is the ultimate truth. It's our ability to transcend all things. And Mars is that willful desire, aggression. So somebody who has a ray 6 can be, you know, so devotional and fanatical about their religious beliefs that they feel that by harming what they think doesn't fit in their system of belief, they will eliminate what doesn't have the right to sort of be here. It's that kind of thinking. It's extremely radical and dangerous, but it exists, and that is why, because it is Mars Neptune. And Mars Neptune, even in a birth chart, Mars Neptune is a very difficult configuration. Might actually I will do a presentation on Mars Neptune. It's a very fascinating aspect, and can really show some pretty radical behaviors. Okay, so, and the last ray, which is number 7, the 7th ray, connects to ceremonial order and magic, and it connects to the sacral chakra. It is ruled by Uranus, and it connects to the signs Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn. So ceremonial order and magic, I mean, I guess, well, for me, when I hear that, what I sort of translate or understand about that is those more sort of mystical components of life. You know, it's the 8th house energy or the 12th house energy. Ceremonial order, that it has a Virgo sort of energy or feel about it too, because order is Virgo. But the ceremonial order is that, well, it's actually Virgo Pisces, isn't it? You know, because Virgo's purification of the body to basically connect with the soul, 12th house Pisces. And the magic component is that, not magic as in magicians who pull a rabbit out of a hat, etc., but the magic that's inherent in different streams of life, the alchemical, magical processes of life. So they are the 7 rays, and what I might do is just give you guys just a few more words for each ray. So the first, going back now to the first ray, here is some further information. It's the will and power, destroyer of form, the urge to rule, the vehicle for creative initiation on all levels. It's also the use of spiritual will for the benefit of the collective, power utilized for the purpose of enhancing unity and beauty, the expression of will for the purposes and well-being of the group. That's when it's operating from a soul level. From a personality level, it's connected to ray of soldier, statesman, ruler, explorer, leader, government, politics, and administration. Some general positive traits: courage, diligence, quick discernment, leadership abilities, inspires others, adventurous, not dismayed by initial failures, but remains persistent until goal is achieved. Some difficult characteristics: limitless ambition, uses will for selfish purposes, manipulative of others through personal power, easy to anger, cannot take criticism, strong sense of personal pride. So those are some further key words to, that was ray number 1, okay, which is ruled by Pluto. Now let me just go to ray number 2, some further meanings to ray 2. So it's universal love and truth, philanthropy, brotherhood, the urge to inclusiveness, consciousness, the nurturing quality which supports all life, the expression of the soul. The urge to bring about a sustaining, loving wholeness to any group of life situation, the ability through magnetic attraction to bring about healing, the focus for the stimulation of consciousness, and hence for greater love, wisdom, the ability to see beyond differences into unifying principles. It's inclusive, it's that beautiful unconditional love that pretty much every person wants to experience. It's the ray of teachers, people in the healing and service professions as well. Now, I'm a therapist and I'm also an astrologer. So this is my soul ray, this ray number 2. So I'm living exactly what my soul intended for me through this work that I'm doing, which I don't consider to be work. I consider it to be a blessing, a gift, and a craft that that makes I feel my soul radiates when I'm involved in this work, whether it's doing these presentations, teachings, whether I'm doing a reading for somebody, or whether I'm doing a counseling session for somebody. There's something that when I'm in those fields, my soul is actually it's totally present, and the sun, my personality, is just there in the background as opposed to the reverse. That's the best way I can put it for myself in very simple terms. Okay, the third ray, which is active intelligence. It's mental illumination, the power to produce synthesis on the physical plane, the blending of willpower and love wisdom to produce the forms of life. The birthing of ideas to benefit humanity, the structuring of time and activities to allow for group energies to flourish, inherent objective intelligence ready to be used in service to humanity in all ways. It also connects to the ray of the astrologer, scholar, judge, banker, economist, chess master, and abstract thinker. Okay, so ray number 4, which is harmony through conflict, ruled by Mercury and Moon. Okay. Just bear with me. The fourth ray, the principle of beauty existing in all things, the urge to balance opposing tendencies in order to bring about a greater harmony, the art of living, the urge to achieve perfection. It's the divine artist, one who seeks to raise humanity's consciousness through the realization of the beauty and harmony existing in nature and in the world of forms. The mediator between heaven and earth, God and man, the priest. It is also the ray of the mediator, interpreter, artist, and those healers whose treatments involve the harmonizing and balancing of the body's energies, polarities, such as acupuncture, techniques of massage, color therapy, etc. So we can see very clearly that when we're looking at some of the key terms for each ray, they have such highly advanced, amplified levels of consciousness, don't they? And in terms of their characteristics and their abilities and what they express and radiate. I love it. Okay, so that was the fourth. Now we're going to the fifth ray, which is concrete knowledge. The vehicle of expression for the ideas in the mind of God, the urge to reveal law through intellect, the power to express divinity through deep penetration into matter. Those who work to be connecting links of intelligence between the abstract world of pure ideation and the concrete world of practical application. Precision and exactitude in creating those forms and interventions which allow for the outpouring of higher mind intelligence. It is the ray of the scientist, technician, lawyer, engineer, researcher, computer expert, etc. Okay, the sixth ray, which is devotion and idealism. This ray is very difficult, actually, for people who have it as a soul ray or personality ray. I think this can be quite difficult. If the energy is not actualized in that transcendent level as much as it can be here on this 3D earth plane, because it's ruled by Mars Neptune, as I said before. Okay, so intense focus of one-pointed devotion to ideals or beliefs. Did you hear that? Intense focus of one-pointed devotion to ideals and beliefs. So that immediately is alerting you to the fact that this person cannot see things in any other way. They only see things through their own belief system and their own ideals, and everything else is excluded. And we know that in the world that we live in, there is absolutely no way we can say, well, your version of what you believe is truthful or your ideals are wrong and mine are correct. That is ridiculous. We cannot say that to anybody. And that's what this ray brings up in the person. That's what that's how it manifests. It's what I believe, it's my ideals, and I will die for them and I will kill for them. It's that kind of energy, right? It has good things about it too, but it has to be activated on a higher level. The purification of the emotions by the mind. Ray 6 is a blending of rays 2 and 3. The urge to transform selfish and personal motivations into selfless, impersonal devotion for the good of all. The bringing about of circumstances which reorient the exclusive to the inclusive for the greater expression of love wisdom. And that's what I was just talking about, that this particular ray, what they need to do is they need to include, rather than exclude everybody else's truths or beliefs or ways of life, etc. It can be the ray of the saint, because that's operating at a very high Neptunian spiritualized level, right? It can also be the martyr, the evangelist, preacher, religious workers of all kinds, psychics, mediums, many kinds of healers and theologians and poets. Very fascinating ray, that one. Okay, and finally, ray 7. Where are you, ray 7? Here you are. Okay, so the coordination and unification of the inner life principle and its expression in form, the reflection of will through order, fusion, blending, coordination. The urge to gather, formulate, and harmonize various aspects of a given set of life circumstances into an ordered expression of the will of God. The urge to make heaven on earth. Now, the terms that come up in these sorts of books and other books that say God, I would change that word to source or divine creation, because God has very specific connotations to the masculine gender and a number of other different things. And I'm a little bit more open and broad to, first of all, God, goddess, equal, and divine source creation to all things. Doesn't have restrictions, limitations, rules, and so forth. Anyway, okay. It's the ray of the master of ceremonies of any event, film or stage producer. See how it can just go from, well, it can go from the shaman. When I read further here, it says ritualist and shaman, organizational bureaucrat. So depends, where this energy is playing out. Is it playing out purely through the personality, and the personality is not aligned with the soul? Then you're going to get those more external expressions of these rays, connecting to the world, in various ways. So that's the 7 rays, with a little bit more added to their meaning. And Okay, so I think I will leave it there. As I said, this was an introduction for you guys, just to give you something further to think about regarding astrology, esoteric astrology, soul level astrology. Soul level astrology is also seen in exoteric astrology. We know that because Pluto represents the soul in evolutionary astrology, for instance. Whether you subscribe to that understanding or not, that's each to their own. But by the way, forgot to mention something very, very important. I have mentioned this in previous videos, but it is very important to mention it now because it purely pertains to esoteric astrology. Your ascendant sign in esoteric astrology is your soul. Now, this is so important to understand and grasp because when you think about your birth chart, the time that you were born is what defines the ascendant. So it's pretty easy to understand from that if when you're about to be born, if we accept that we have a soul, we are a soul, and the soul is infinite, and the soul comes in and out of this this particular dimension and other dimensions, but let's just stick to this dimension. As it incarnates into this dimension, that ascendant sign is determined from the moment you took your first breath. So the ascendant representing the soul is a very different way of understanding the ascendant from exoteric astrology, which describes the ascendant as some of the key things are, it's the filters you look through, it's your immediate environment because it's the first house, physical body, it's what you sort of project out there. It's absolutely all those things. But on an esoteric level, it's actually your soul looking through. So your soul is looking through the lens of that ascendant sign. Your ascendant sign describes something very, very specific about your soul's expression, this incarnation, and how it's going to basically be expressed through that ascendant sign, your rising sign. So, therefore, it is important to understand that if your time of birth is wrong, and you are working with an ascendant that is very early in a sign, say for example you're working with a birth chart at the moment where you have 2 degrees of Pisces rising, or you have 28 degrees of Scorpio rising. Well, I can tell you now, it's not going to take too much of your time being adjusted before your ascendant actually goes into a completely different sign. So with the Scorpio example, you might actually be Sag rising. With the Pisces example, which was at 2 degrees I had it, you might actually be Aries rising. So it's important. It's really important to be working with your accurate time of birth, which many people are not. Again, I'm bringing it to you guys that I can help you rectify your chart. So that is something that you can come to me for. The ascendant represents the soul. It's when your soul just basically came through, incarnated into, first to your mother, and then it took the form of your physical body. That's the ascendant. That's why the ascendant is the first house to your physical body. But the physical body wouldn't have prana, energy, life force, if the soul was not inside the body. And I've had, you know, a very personal experience with seeing a soul leave a body, and there is nothing like it. There is nothing like laying next to someone. Yeah, I might just leave that there. Still very, very raw. Anyway, the point was that the ascendant sign represents the soul from an esoteric perspective. So then what you would do is you would look at, well, what is the planetary ruler from an esoteric level to my ascendant sign? And you can do that for all the planets and the signs as well. As I said, I'll put a link to a website that pretty much has this information very well ordered and structured and very accessible and easy to understand and read. And the person who did this website is, you know, it's fantastic what they've done. They have taken their work from, you know, people like Alan Oken and other people, but it doesn't matter. What they've done is they've compacted as much as you can from sort of a basic level, but also it's very advanced as well because of the content. And I think that's because the content of esoteric astrology is very advanced because it's working from a soul perspective. You know, it's so vast. It has so much depth to it. So, okay, hopefully you guys find this introduction to esoteric astrology useful. And I'll see you guys very, very soon with a new video, new topic or update or whatever the case. Many blessings, and thank you so much for subscribing and for your comments and questions again. Please keep your comments and questions coming. I love them. I love responding to them. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, and support my love wisdom for this beautiful, beautiful teaching. Thanks, guys. Much love. Bye.